Hey guys, I'm Alastair from Trail and Kale, and this is my La Sportiva Bushido 3 review. That's these trail running shoes here. I'm just a regular guy who absolutely loves running and reviewing the latest running shoes and gear. My 5K PR is 20 minutes, which I'm always trying to beat. I've run countless ultra marathons around the world, and my favorite distance is the cheeky half marathon. Road or trail, I love running on them both. I'm not afraid to let you know when a running shoe is crap, but also you're definitely gonna know when one blows me away. Either way, our independent running shoe reviews are always 100% honest, reliable, and hopefully you'll come away from this video having learned something new. As always then, let's start off with who these trail running shoes are targeted at, who they're gonna be best for. Well, they are all mountain trail running shoes, so that means they've got really good traction, good stability, and they're kind of made for moving through mountains, which means traversing through different types of terrain, taking on steep climbs, steep descents, and of course the cheeky flat sections. Most of my runs so far have been just climbing and climbing, but I have had some flat sections too, so I already know what kind of shoe this is, how it feels. And it's interesting because it is definitely a very responsive running shoe, and that's my polite way of saying they're actually quite stiff running shoes. As you get them out of the box, you will feel like you will need to break these shoes in. This one just feels kind of like a hiking shoe, but I do believe you need to give it time. You need to give it a chance, because once these shoes are broken in, that's when they really show their true colors. It was about 5 years ago now that I reviewed the Bushido 2. That shoe has been out for absolutely ages. I don't know how many years, but I got hold of it 5 years ago and I absolutely loved it once I'd broken that shoe in. I did a lot of races around the world. I just loved how stable and fast it was in technical terrain, and that's the kind of running I like to do on the trails. So I'm excited to share how this shoe compares in this review. Whether it's better, worse, or more of the same, you're going to learn all that within this review. And for anyone who hasn't watched one of my trail running shoe reviews, I take you along with me on my trail runs to show you what kind of terrain I put these shoes through, because it's really my job to test shoes to the max, so that any of you, if you do have certain circumstances when you're trail running, you need to know if they can handle those circumstances. And what I mean by circumstances is steep climbs, technical terrain, and steep descents, because I want to know if I'm going to fall over in these shoes. That will give you a good indication if they're any good or not. Let's jump straight into the key stats then. They cost $145. I'll let you know at the end of this review if I believe they're worth that price tag, but off the cuff, that's a very reasonable price for a pair of trail running shoes. How do they fit and how do they feel then? Well, this is an interesting one, and it's very consistent with La Sportiva in general. Being an Italian brand, they do run small. Now, my contact at La Sportiva did recommend going up a half size, and I think they got it absolutely right. This feels really good to me, going up a half size. So I'd recommend doing the same. When you do get them out of the box and you put them on though, they will feel tight. Just loosen the laces more than you normally would on a pair of shoes, and they do kind of break in and stretch to your feet. By the way, there is now a wide option. There wasn't on the Bushido 2, so that's progress. The upper is using an air mesh material. I can show you here. And it is actually very breathable so far. This is one of the other improvements of the Bushido 3, is it's more breathable than the previous version. For anyone who has a tendency to trip on rocks or roots on the trails, this tends to happen at the end of an ultra marathon, to be honest, for me. But there is a toe cap, which is very much reinforced. So anyone who needs a toe cap or toe bumper will be very happy with that. The tongue is also very padded. There's just enough cushioning around the collar and the heel counter. Not a huge amount, but this tongue does have a nice amount of padding. Doesn't look like it because it's in sections, but it does have good padding. And there's a nice loop at the rear to help slip the shoes on. The midsole is very responsive, like I mentioned earlier. It is super responsive, in fact. So it's got kind of a firm, hard ride to it. It's something you will need to get used to if you are used to running in cushioned shoes. But once you get the hang of it, you do feel like you've got more control on the trails, and you get a nice response, which means you get a fast ride when running on flats and downhill. There is also a very thin layer of compressed foam in the midsole, which is what La Sportiva is calling a rock guard. All that means is you'll get extra protection from sharp rocks and things like that on the trails, so you don't feel them spiking into the bottom of your feet. It's using La Sportiva's Friction red bi-compound. Fancy words. But it is actually pretty cool. It's a very aggressive outsole. Take a look at this. I love how the lug patterns are very varied, which means there's a lot of catch points in terms of catching you if you do slip in one area. There's a different shaped lug to give you a backup, so to speak. And these lugs, they kind of wrap around the outsole. That's really cool if you're running fast around corners, because it gives you extra stability but also traction right on the edges of the shoes. And these traction lugs do also kind of wrap a little bit around the front and the rear. You can see them sticking out, which gives you extra traction beyond the edge of the shoe. I don't think I've seen that on a trail running shoe before, but it works really well. They have a 6mm drop from heel to toe and a very low stack height, so you feel nice and connected to the trails. And then finally, they weigh 10.4 ounces for size US men's 9. That's my pair. Congratulations, you've made it to my performance review. How do they climb then? Well, very well actually. Although the outsole traction isn't as good as Vibram's Mega Grip, I can already tell that by running on some dry leaf sections, which Vibram seems to handle okay. These ones kind of slip on that a little bit. I am talking quite steep climbs, but still, Vibram outperforms it here. So apart from this crazy dry leaf sections, which to be honest most shoes can't handle very well, they do climb really well. The heel lock is excellent. There isn't a huge amount of space in the toe box. I do kind of like a little bit of extra room in my toe box, especially when I'm climbing, because I do need my toes to kind of splay out and give me more power on the climbs. They are very breathable though, so I do like how temperature regulation is good within the shoe. It's damn hot today in California. Doesn't look like it because weirdly we've got clouds. We hardly ever see clouds here in the summer, so a little bit strange, but the temperature is still high. It's quite muggy and quite humid today. So that's how I'm able to test the breathability of these shoes. What are they like on flat sections then? Well, you would have seen a video clip just earlier, or maybe I'm overlaying it now. Either way, you can see I'm quite enjoying running on the flats. Just like the Bushido 2, they are fast and responsive, which means you're able to get a really nice cadence and power out of these shoes running on flat sections. And I kind of already know they're going to be very similar on a downhill. And for anyone who's wondering how they compare so far to the Bushido 2, well, to be honest, it feels like I'm almost wearing the same trail running shoes. That's not a bad thing. I absolutely love the Bushido 2. But it does make me curious because it's been at least 5 years since this next release, the Bushido 3. So I just feel like there should be more that's gone into this shoe. I feel like it should be feeling a lot different. Even how it looks. I used to have this same black and yellow colorway. To the untrained eye, you would think it was the same shoe. So yeah, it feels like the Bushido 2. I wish it was more than that shoe though. So my question for you today then is, if you were a trail running shoe, what trail running shoe would you be and why? I'm going to start off the conversation. I guess I would probably be Speedgoat 6. I'm quite slim. I'm also quite responsive. No, I don't have an outsole. But I'm very quick at replying to your messages. Reply to emails pretty well too. I'm quite soft. You know, I've got a soft heart. I like to think I'm a kind person. Speedgoat 6 has a nice soft midsole. Nice bit of cushioning, response and protection. Very breathable. Do lots of breathing. And I like to take on mountains. Absolutely love mountains. Speedgoat 6 does too. So tell me, which trail running shoe are you and why? you're enjoying this review, please give it a like, share it with a friend, and subscribe to our channel for more running shoe reviews just like this one. Getting bitten all over the place today. Forgot my parakeeto. I've done plenty of downhill running in a Bushido 3 now then, and to be honest, this I think is where they perform the best. The traction is actually really good on the downhills. I'm not sure why I was slipping on the uphills. Maybe I was being a little bit harsh because those dry leaves, not much can go over those without a little bit of a slip, and it's particularly dry today, so it could just be that. Downhill though, equal with Vibram Mega Grip and also Brooks's Trail Tack, and more recently Nike's ATC, which is their all-terrain compound, which they just released and slapped right on the Pegasus Trail 5. That one performs really well. So traction is great, stability is really good before, because like I said, those lugs kind of creep up around the edge of the midsole. Gives you grip on the edge of the shoes, which actually works quite well when you're navigating fast round corners. I wasn't sure how well that would have worked, but it actually does do quite a good job. And I feel like I've just got a lot of control on the downhills, and that is coming from the stability and of course the traction, but also the fit and the lock within the shoe, because of the upper, because of how well that's designed, feels really good to me. And I like how I can just adapt to the trails with these shoes because of the response and that low stack height. So they really are all mountain trail running shoes, and they proved it on this run today. Are they worth the $145 price tag then? Are they worth your money? Well, yes and no. Don't get me wrong, these trail running shoes are really good. And they were really good 5 years ago when I had the Bushido 2. And I don't feel like a whole lot has changed. I feel very similar. Still very good performing all mountain trail running shoes. But a lot of time has passed, and I feel like some of the competitor shoes have actually caught up and maybe surpassed the Bushido. One such shoe, for example, would be the Brooks Catamount 3, which I recently reviewed. I think it was last month. Definitely go check that review out if you haven't before. I'll put a link up here, and I'll put links down in descriptions to any other reviews that I'm talking about in this review. And I put this shoe in the mid-weight, all-mountain, responsive trail running shoe category. Yeah, it sounds very niche, but actually there's quite a few shoes in this category. But before I go into some of those alternatives that you might want to also look at, if you are looking for a nice, stable, responsive all-mountain shoe like this. But first, back to whether they're worth $145. I did mention earlier that $145 is really good for a pair of trail running shoes. That's really reasonably priced. So I think for that price, yes, it's totally worth it. But I think there are better shoes in this category out there. Then again, you do have to pay a little bit extra for those shoes. So it's a tricky one. Yes, they're worth it, especially for that $145 price tag, but there are better mid-weight all-mountain trail running shoes. I'm going to list them now. First one being the Brooks Catamount 3. The next shoe would be the Brooks Cascadia 17. Both of those shoes are all-mountain mid-weight trail running shoes, and both very reasonably priced as well for what they are. Then you've got the Salomon Genesis, and maybe even the Nike Kygo 9. All great running shoes, and all very viable alternatives to the Bushido 3. Well, I really hope you enjoyed this review. Don't forget to comment down below. Let me know which shoe you are. It's a very important question, and I need to know your answer. So definitely comment, tell me what shoe you would be. And subscribe to this channel for more running shoe reviews just like this one. And don't forget to hit that notification bell. That'll notify you as soon as new running shoe reviews drop. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.